world, but it is already the #1 image model. Like, and for people that like spend a lot of time and energy on this, it's like half the price of what it was to sort of like, if you think about people that are doing like thousands of generations on Google Nanoband Pro, like that adds up. So this is better and cheaper. So it's an interesting update. But one thing I thought was interesting in the languaging was that they even flagged what we are shifting from being an AI filmmaking tool to being a full service creative suite, which I just thought was really choice language, right? Because it's almost like they're saying we're going to benefit from being like a bit more of an Adobe competitor, you know? Sorry, am I in? We're good?
Yeah, just share your screen.
Oh, got it. Hey, Charlie, thanks for joining. I think I mentioned to the guys that entire screen, that's what I want to do. That
also
Google may or may not flake on us.
You need to share system audio.
System audio, so go back. Let me try again. Okay, entire screen, system audio, this one, right?
Yeah.
Yep, great, thank you. So I kind of have a light kind of like agenda for us today. I want to talk news. We're going to spend some time going over homework. We'll just make sure we feel good about the flow updates. And again, hopefully that's in concert with, let's see, they just emailed me. I don't care about sharing my screen, by the way. You don't have to keep hopping around. Let's see, what did they say? We're also, we can keep today with Jeannie. We have another slot with flow. Let's see what Jeannie can do. Okay, so we'll be on at 11 or at 10, right? Is that what I said? I think I might have said 11 by accident in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, you said 11.
All right, it is at 10. Let me just clarify for the fun people that I just sent misinformation to.
Do you want to do the Zoom just on the board, or do you want everyone to join the actual?
I mean, we're here. I might as well use the room we're in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll join it here.
Yeah, instead of everyone joining.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm at 10 a.m. or Google. Sorry, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. What is it that I would do differently?
I'm just asking, do you want everyone to have the link, or do you want it to just be on the board?
Well, I just sent it to everybody. That was meant to be for like people that aren't here.
Okay, so we're just gonna put it on the board.
So this room will be on the board.
Okay, cool.
And I think they'll enjoy seeing it. I don't know, maybe we have to like screen direct. It's very empty looking, exciting classroom. We'll figure it out. No big deal.
We'll get everyone crowd at the front.
But anyway, so we'll do that at 10. We're going to talk about homework, and then we'll spend a minute just navigating Kling. And did anybody start grabbing those codes? And was it tricky? Did you have any problem quickly? It was easy. Good. All right, because these systems are so stupid. I mean, I can't believe I have to spend time giving you 11 labs twice. But Kling, look, it's amazing. And the fact that they're giving you 3 months, what I want to double check as we look at it is like, months don't matter as much as credits, like because eventually like you have access for a month, but if you burn through all your credits, it's not like it keeps going. So let's look at it together. But minimally, I think between that and I would like personally, I still think having free pick as your catch-all. That means that anytime something happens over here, you still have access to it. Like CDNs 2 will be on Kling at some point, or excuse me, free pick. So I think for people that are really into this, you now have free Kling, free flow, and I think free pick kind of becomes your catch-all, and then even 11 labs is sort of an extra. Although free pick now has a lot of 11 labs cooked into it. So it's either redundant or giving you guys options to just find what works for you. Go ahead.
Does Kling, so if we have free pick, can we wait to use the Kling code?
Good question. I didn't notice if there was any like ticking clock on it. Let me see if they said as much. I mean, I can ask them, but I mean, I would just like double up your let me see. Let's see. I mean, what did they say? 42 Kling, because I got from my Chapman class too. There wasn't any like real language on it. I probably wouldn't test that. For me, I mean, I can find out, but it would be a big bummer if you thought you were calculating something and they just said, sorry, it goes dry after a month. I don't know. So, I mean, if it's 3 months, who cares? Just like get it going, and then you'll have it during this time for your film. We're going to watch Google Flow. And actually today, really, I think the main thing we are going to get is they're going to walk us through that Genie tool, which is a bit of, puff, as much as you guys are. Have you guys been playing with it at all? Like you have access to it through your Ultra plan. Is anybody enjoying it? Like, if you're going to give them feedback, like, what is it? Just like, what is this for? Like, you're a little suspicious in the back.
I use, I don't know. It's just like a kind of video game type thing. But
Yeah.
I feel like it could be useful.
Yeah, I think I shared like someone who's like a creative agent person, this woman Kuan Dav. Again, I'm encouraging us to keep coming back to that Will Smith spaghetti feeling. Is like you can easily say like, what is this for? It's a waste of time. I think it empowers you to place this in like, where's this going and why does this matter? Because maybe at this moment, how does this help you for your movie? But does it help you to generate and like the types of things that I think people are reacting to? This is that world model conversation. Like this is the idea that all these big bad companies that are pumping, $1 trillion valuations into the space, their value is understanding the physics, the geometry of the world. Where that eventually sits on their pathway to AGI and all these things that matter nothing to film students, it's worth understanding that. So I think minimally I would place it in that, understanding that when you think about Google, you have this super powerful video model with VO. That's, again, I think the big reaction that I'm getting is that if everybody's excited about CDance and scared of Chinese models, VO4 is probably coming out in May and will most likely carry these capabilities. So you have this superpower video model that has this superpowered image kind of like reasoning, I don't even know what you want to call Nano, but a pro in comparison, like they speak to each other, like the ability to manipulate and understand the world and to generate the world, plus an ability to real-time generate it. That's a very powerful, triangle. And if anything, I think it's interesting for you guys to be exposed to that through a film class right now. But I think the other thing I've been hearing people say is there's this sort of, like if people started getting excited about the node-based system that we looked at last week with free pick, that idea that you can start creating your sort of blueprints like you might in an Unreal Engine, there's a lot of people saying like, well, why are we suddenly excited about that system? Even though it is interesting, like it's already better than hopping from website to website, but like, why don't we think in terms of a viewport? Like the way that when you look through the lens of a camera or a still camera, like that's what your relationship is with the world building or the storytelling. So as we start to get into this notion that there is a world to manipulate, why are we looking at it in this very limited way? I think Genie 3 starts to show you that there's like a viewport coming, that like you're going to be able to interact with these things as something that like moves around like a periscope coming out of a submarine. So I don't know, I just think it's interesting, and it's a little bit taking a break from the tactical warfare of making movies. Do we want to do attendance really quickly, or did you feel like you kind of have it just while I'm doing this? Or?
Yeah, let's do attendance.
Yeah.
Cool. Great idea.
And I really want to make time today to talk about the film we want to make first, and even think about where that sits on kind of what we're doing here. I'll talk more about this later, but while we're getting ready for attendance, like to me, the news this week is Paramount, Warner Brothers, even though that doesn't sound like AI news. I just think it's, my biggest thing that I care about with you guys, like I'm excited for you guys to learn how to do stuff. Personally, I really want you guys to get jobs. I really want you guys to see this as a step forward into like building and becoming successful people, not just, Francis Ford Coppola kind of, in the footsteps of. And I can't help but, reflect what is the chatter in my groups and just like what a avalanche of layoffs is coming if that deal closes. And those are the people we're trying to sell to as creators. Those are the people we're in a traditional mindset, by the way, like the Hollywood machine that we keep coming back to of like that we're here on about, like that is horrible news. And I don't know what your politics are and the underlying piece of it. The idea of like, I just want to sell stuff or I want to work somewhere like that. Like there's going to be at least thousands of more people out of work, advertising execs, all kinds of people that work in that. Like that is not good news for the workforce. It might be good news for billionaires who want to control things. So to me, like I want you to notice that, okay, well, while that is not improving, there are lots of other ways to think about like how are you building yourself as someone who eventually aggregates your own audience, your own sort of market, your own ability to monetize your creative abilities. And I'm not saying you suddenly have to start like shit posting memes on Twitter, but it's like, how do you sort of leverage the types of opportunities that equal you owning IP, you owning your own sort of a narrative as a creator? And I think it's foggy, but I think if anything, this class is pointing to ways that you get to at least iterate in that space more, and you get to sort of innovate and maybe even understand new types of ecosystems. So for example, we had a big call yesterday on Machine Cinema because somebody in the group was like, hey, something microdramas, and everybody lost their minds. Like, yeah, I need to learn more about this. And we just like overnight just did like a quick, like, all right, who's around? And like 100 people showed up from like 9 to 10:30 yesterday because one of our community members like knew a lot about like where's the business of microdramas going. So I'm asking you guys, okay, like I'm going to say you guys should make a film, and maybe you just want to make a work of art. Maybe this is your expression as a creative. I want to hear that too, if that matters to you more. But for example, we could all take on the challenge that we're making a microdrama pilot. That's your first film. And frankly, you will then have a portfolio item that speaks directly to an emerging market. So I guess question to you guys, is that interesting to think that way? Do you guys like having a more like direct relationship that what I'm making is trying to be prototypical to the space? Or do you guys just want like free reign to just be creative? I would just encourage you to have characters and talking parts and doing the hard stuff, not just doing poetic voiceover driven stuff. But I mean, we can do this individually. I'd like to think we can make this decision as a group, because I think it should even allow you guys to be influenced by each other's work and think that you're in a bubble, like almost like a little bit of a startup accelerator. Like, how are we all learning from that particular example? Like in the back, does anybody like that idea that like maybe instead of just making a film, like actually it's a parameter, like make a microdrama pilot, learn that industry, let's spend a minute understanding that market, and then your product isn't just a video, it's something that might speak to a real opportunity. Jose or anybody in the back? Or I see somebody nodding, but I don't know if that's like shut up and get to it or
To clarify the question, instead of just like having kind of like open whatever.
Yeah. Like generically, I would have said that midterm, I want you guys to just say, take what we've now learned the fundamentals of and make like a 1 minute minimum film. Okay, and that might just be enough. And that's kind of where I'd probably leave it if that's where we'd rather go. But we could, I want to think about this as professional advancement. If we like the idea of like tightening the screw on how we're actually learning how to build like a pilot for an emerging media, like, and I think microdramas is pretty basic. I'd even say like, we don't have to think about like soap operas and, you know, maybe the people's associations. There's a real narrative happening now of how vertical video is on the cusp of becoming true crime or horror movies or all kinds of stuff. So this isn't about suddenly everybody needs to write a soap opera, although that's an interesting skill for you to learn how that is a quite programmatic process. So Iman, what do you think?
Like this film, my intention with it is to tackle the blah 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 space, like micro drama space. So like we still have that creative freedom, but we have a portfolio goal to get to with the first.
Maybe another, and I like that, and maybe it retains your guys' ability to do what you want to do. Like it's funny, like I'm in like one of my consulting gigs right now is I'm working with a company that they're like, all right, let's figure out what we can prototype, which in some amazing tech company, like, let's just fuck around and like do stuff and then we'll figure it out later what it's for. But they're like challenging me, like, all right, if you're gonna pitch us an idea, make sure that there's at least a business road in front of it, right? So it's like, I don't just get like I'm like, oh, there's these cool like technical capabilities to do like 3D, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, what is that for? So I'm in that headspace of like, all right, if I want to be innovative, I need to at least make a case for why this is a business. So one example is like, well, I'm going to make a microdrama pilot. It's emerging. If there's other spaces like that, if you guys think, I just would encourage you to think this way. Like you're getting to build at least one item for your portfolio. Do we like that? That in some ways your deliverable isn't just your film, but you're actually pitching it in the context. And maybe you just want to go back to saying, and this is my pathway to get repped at CAA. I don't know. I'm just trying to encourage you guys to see this as an opportunity. Does anybody care about this? Or does anybody not care about this? And they're like, what, can we just go back to making art? Which is okay, by the way. Does anybody not like this way of thinking? Everybody loves this way of thinking? Yeah? Roxy, you love this way of thinking? Love it? Okay, I'm to love, that's a passionate feeling. That's like, we're leaning in, I want it, I want more of it. So I'll frame it that way, because we're starting today. Like that's like homework today is getting going, and I think we're gonna work on it between this week and next. Next week, I'm just trying to create space for you guys to workshop here on whatever that is. Like it's almost like our own workshop. Help each other. Let's find ways to sort of bring work to class and actually like take advantage of being able to ask questions here. Use the WhatsApp to bug me. I think I've shown to be pretty responsive on this stuff. And then the following week, I think we're gonna, sort of wrap it up and then ideally sort of make some space to celebrate a win. So you guys are gonna basically have about 2 weeks to make something. So I'll put it in more formal, but I'm gonna say like, what are you making and how is this like a pilot for something? Maybe you're here to say this is like a pitch for branded, new ways to do branded content or something as a storytelling experience. I don't know. I just want you guys to try to think this way. And if you guys want to brainstorm this today, we can. But I just really, that news is really bad. I don't know what your other professors talk to you about, but like, to me, like that is not a bullish signal. And if anything, that deal is going to take another, like it's going to go through the midterms before it even closes. Who knows if then the Democrats take power and then slow it down even more. That means that this town is frozen. Nobody's innovating. Nobody's taking bets. Nobody's being risky. And maybe you guys are nimble and new people as you get into it, and it's all good, but that is a very uncertain time to be jumping in. And I want you guys to build a creative entrepreneur mindset. And you can also tell me I don't care about this stuff, Fred, and I just want to learn AI. Go ahead.
Can you explain that a little more? Like why? Yeah. Why Reese's thing?
Because at some point, business is speculation. And if people are going to move a big pile of money into development and say, okay, next year we're going to make more movies, even people that are currently selling, like those deals are all basically frozen because they don't even know if the people they're pitching are going to keep their jobs. Like that, even the notion that there's a budget to make that series that's been in development for the last 9 months, all of that stuff is uncertainty now. Like all of it. And in those two giant studios, you know, Paramount and Warner Brothers, like and the other thing that like people are really noticing, and I don't think it was that much better that Netflix would buy them. That's another just massive merger, and it's like, wow, there's the richer keep getting richer. But like, at least Netflix and Paramount are semi-different businesses. That means some version of them do this, that there's like a Lego moment. They're like, how do we build together? Paramount and Warner Bros. Are literally the same business. That means redundancies. That means that what is the real value? Why do you think like some of the richest people on earth want Warner Brothers? While they're losing money in a consolidating industry, what does anybody think is the real value for that deal? Yeah, they're not buying new opportunities. They're buying Batman. They're buying Harry Potter. They're buying things that have long-term institutional theme parks, all kinds of real value. They're not buying that studio's ability to innovate the future. They're buying that studio's 100 years of history of owning stuff. I'm saying these are not good trends. And again, I would so much rather be wrong. I'm just saying I'm within the group of people that have been in this industry for a while, and we are struggling to make sense of how do we all stay employed in it. So I'm saying as people coming into it, you have an opportunity to be nimble. And again, I'm giving you a big pile of bad news because I think you can actually focus this and strategize as individual creators. And again, creators, like I don't know if you guys call yourselves that, but that's where the money is, you know, in terms of building jobs. Again, I'm not telling people how to be artists, or I'm not telling people how to sort of rethink their inspiration. And even like in the old days, even the greatest directors, Robert Altman, like does one for them and does one for him. Like that's an old model. That's not even that original, that you have to come up with a commercial model to support your art. Like that's fine, but figure out the part that's sustainable. And I think right now that there's a lot of rough news, in my opinion. We can just talk about weird AI stuff. I'm just saying, if we want to talk about the news, like that to me is a massive piece of news. And you can get political about it if you want. I don't think we should. I think that's not a good use of our space. I mean, anybody else have a reaction to it? Maybe you disagree with me. By the way, I'm interpreting it in terms of how do I pivot myself. Did anybody read that news differently? Did that news end for you? Maybe that doesn't feel like headline news to people in this room. Anish, like I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
does anybody disagree with me? I'd like to be, you know, I'd like this to be vigorous debate. If there's another way to interpret the bullishness of the Elsons and their investment. I mean, look, Skydance is a very dynamic company. Like they're by far more of a tech company than a classic studio. So some people are excited that that's new blood and new energy coming into Hollywood, you know, and that's tech companies sort of dictating a legacy industry. Does anybody see it that way? That's actually a positive spin? Leon, or do you have any observations? Just like this piece of news, like, is there another way to read it? I see it very bluntly. This continues a bad trend from the last few years. Strikes, consolidation, streaming bubbles bursting. Those are things that have really taken a toll on the creative industry in this town. I don't think this helps, is my general point. I think it continues a downturn that we will eventually find a bottom and build from. We just haven't found the bottom yet. Go ahead.
I guess my question is like, people always watch them. So like what? Yeah, so like people will always watch TV, and I guess movies and maybe less so, but like, people are always going to watch stuff. So why is it that it becomes so concerning job? Like, shouldn't there just always be jobs because people always?
The Hollywood as an industry has owned the stranglehold on distribution and quality for about 100 years. And that's why all of us are here in places like this, is because it knew the right people. It knew the people that knew how to make certain things, and knew people that knew how to give things distribution. Those are basically the two arms of what we are basically benefiting from. Distribution got taken down by YouTube. And to your point, there is lots of eyeballs, but it's all scattering. Where it used to be 4 TV channels, and then eventually like 300 cable channels. Okay, and then there's these premium channels. So, and it was all very accountable. It was very like ad driven. That in some ways you won't get your advertising budget this year because of the numbers you had last year. It was very transparent. And in some ways that is the stability from like, you know, roughly the 70s until like about 10, 15 years ago. When streaming came along and disrupted the ad model, and that people were very happy to not watch commercials, and now your business was contingent on how many subscribers you get, it starts to collapse because people start churning. I'm going to guess most of you do what most of us do, which is I cancel my monthly Netflix after I got the show I wanted. That's not a very good business for a media company. So Netflix basically just threw so much war chest money at defining that as the user experience that then this whole town had to chase it. That legacy companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, they all suddenly set up their streamers at their own expense. Like that, like it defied their own models to not even prioritize theatrical, to just start like saying, I'm betting on this idea that I'm going to get so many subscribers to my platform that it will make sense for my business. And it didn't. The only winner was Netflix and YouTube, which is ironically not a subscription business necessarily. So that's an even other model, but it's basically free streaming. Minus the advertising. So I'm saying to your point, yeah, like the content is king, but the consumer has never had it better because they have more free stuff, they have more places to go. And when these things were successful things that would subsidize a studio or the types of businesses that we're talking about being in a lot of trouble, where a lot of people are going to lose work and a lot of people aren't going to work out anymore, that came from them having scarcity. And that came from them having control over the distribution and control over the talent. Like that's why that's the big heart attack everybody had with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt being replaceable, just to connect it back to our stuff, is that things like that are happening. I mean, that's in this emergent space of AI. What's going on with Paramount and Warner Brothers, like that's like the ongoing problem, that the growth isn't there anymore. Like you want to talk about TV, the average median age of a channel like History Channel, which I'm not going to say is like the coolest thing in the world, but it didn't used to look like this, is 65 and up. Like that's not a sustainable model. People die after a while. I'm just saying like your population isn't available. And the reason TV used to sustain is because it had a reason why young people would start watching it. So then it was a more of a balanced demographic business, that it would stay relevant. But while TV is calcifying around old people, young people, I'm pretty sure you guys spend a lot of time on your devices, and a lot of that stuff is free. And then it's subsidized in other ways. And that's why influencers are on the rise, is because they're becoming the target for advertising. An individual who has worked really hard to give out great makeup tips is now as valuable as Animal Planet used to be, you know, as far as a target for an advertiser. So I'm saying it's unraveled the stability. So to your point, if you're just someone that could be nimble, which is what I'm trying to come back to you guys can be nimble here. You can innovate this model, and you can recognize that ultimately it's a game for eyeballs, but it's going to get noisier with AI. And that's the other dynamic at play. So how do you find your opportunity? And that's what I want us to disagree and agree about. I just think that is the game for the next 5-10 years until all of this settles. Can you answer your question? Are you?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I guess it largely sounds like it's really like you need to kind of just have the ability to create on your own.
I think, and I would say create on your own and recognize the power of building your own audience.
Right.
Like that is the thing. The only people I know that are moving forward are people that get that. And I'm including myself in this as someone who's had to get used to the idea of being in front of people. I was happily a behind the scenes person.
Right.
The idea is that if you want to have an advantage on this, the best thing you can do is own your audience. So like when Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon or all these people like lose their jobs at like, you know, legacy distribution news companies, they're like, I'm good. I'm going to bring all those people with me to YouTube, and I'm going to create my own advertising model that those people came with me, and they're probably making better money, or at least they have more control over their editorial and what they want to do because they've brought their audience with them. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, this is the type of stuff that blockchain nerds get really excited about, is that how do you own like literally your audience? How do you create like a real tokenized relationship with audience? I mean, I think that's super speculative stuff, by the way. But I'm just saying that's the conversation, is that we've taken it, like the way that the media business has mostly worked is that they've got it figured out. There's so much money flowing because everybody's obsessed with content that it's all going to work out. And in the end, like Netflix basically destroyed the ownership model. Like most people that worked in TV or film would come up with an idea, write a screenplay, and then they'd be at a negotiation table where some part of the obvious negotiation is, well, I'm going to own some of this, right? Increasingly, Netflix was like, how about we just overpay you? How about we pay you so much money up front that nobody's going to give you a better deal in town? And who knows if this movie is going to do any good? Why don't you take that money now? And while everything was flush, everybody took that deal. That's the cost plus model. That's like the work for hire model, that basically you don't take any risk. And then Netflix assumes all the risk because they had so much money to pull from all their stock, valuations and all their war chests, they could play that game. And that created a really imbalanced model for media. Whereas, like I said before, it was all like advertising budgets. Everything was very transparent. If you got a show going this year, it's because you actually had success behind it last year. So once that happened, like the creator eventually just got used to, like, well, I guess I'll just make a bunch of money up front. I guess that's the way this works. But then when things downturn, you're like, wait, what am I holding on to? I'm successful. I made all these shows. I don't own any of them. I don't actually own anything. I just have the money I made when I sold that show. So you see what I'm saying? Like, that's why owning your audience and starting to really develop your own, hopefully dynamic take on IP, and that's where this stuff starts to get interesting as we talk about new markets, new media. Like there's new ways that you own something different. Like you might own the workflow, whatever that means. And so start to think about what AI is opening up. There's new things to own, potentially. It's weird stuff. And again, if I've spent too much time on this, tell me and we'll just move on. Is anybody interested in this conversation? Because I think it's the most important, but I could be wrong if you guys are like, we're done.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think it's great. I think I agree with your point that other things will become more noisy with AI, and especially that like people will try to sell things even. Yes, and also like with your vertical series point, right now, Good Short and their CEO is a USC alum. Their mandate is actually use AI to make to use AI to make all their content in the future, but especially with like anime stuff, manga.
Yeah.
And they're trying to create new manga IP.
Yeah.
In-house.
Yeah. If you guys want us to ever do a session, I can try to bring somebody in to talk about that market, because it is increasingly becoming an AI relevant topic, because it just naturally fits, because it's about speed and scale. That it might be interesting for you guys. Again, I'm trying to point to at least one, I'd even say conservative bet on worth your time, because it's an emergent space. There's a lot of people like starting companies and raising money for those companies. And that might be a place to become a specialist. That might be a kind of thing that you already speak that language. It might be interesting. If anybody is excited about that, maybe DM me. But yeah, that's kind of why I bring up verticals, because in spite of all my doom and gloom, there's things like this happening that you might have an opportunity to become specialized in. Yeah.
My vertical producer friend in Vancouver, and Vancouver is not a big like vertical series city either, but he recently did a show that has like a big football stadium scene, which they usually couldn't do without AI. But now they worked with like a AI workflow, and it was able to achieve that, and then like saved probably like maybe 20K. Yeah.
I mean, look, this is the way this stuff gets sold, guys. I think this is like hype beast nonsense. So the Door brothers are like pretty noisy dudes. It's actually one dude who calls himself Brothers. It's really unusual. But look, this is, while social media is the currency for these conversations, where rage bait and outrage and all kinds of noisiness is the thing that gets attention, like to put this out there, like we made a $300 million movie, and to make that the title of your movie, like that's a statement, and that's there to, I mean, we can spend time in the comment threads. This is the thing that angers Hollywood people. It's also, I don't like it as a way to sell this, that like, look how much cheaper everything is. But yeah, look how much cheaper everything is. These are really expensive VFX sequences. These are things that like you could just literally create an itemized list of like that costs $100,000, that costs $300,000. You could just go down the list of everything it takes to make this, and then yeah, they made this with not that amount of money. So, but to your point, it's minimally becoming a way to think about, you know, the way that if you want that stadium scene in your microdrama, you don't need to go book a location. You don't need, like, none of that stuff matters. For better, for worse. Again, I think it's a bummer that location scouts might get put out of money, but I'm saying that is the way to think about this as a director and a producer, frankly. Like if you're a producer and you had a long day on set and the actors were really hard and we didn't get to shoot those exteriors because it turned to nighttime, you know, do I really need to go like blow my budget to get some shots of the exterior tomorrow when I'm already an independent filmmaker and I don't have enough money for this? Or do I just generate it? I mean, I don't know what producer has a problem with that when they want to spend their money wisely on expensive things like actors or the other things that are top ticket. So this stuff at some point is a practical concern. It interests me less because I think this stuff becomes a race to the bottom eventually, because eventually the technology keeps getting better. I really want us to think about where innovation is. Where is something that isn't just a reference to the way we used to do things? Where is something that you guys, that's why I'm pointing to vertical dramas, because there's at least even the safe bet of soap operas work. You know, here's this one creative genre that works in that medium. And now you're hearing Holy Water, all these like big like acquired studios. They're saying that we're taking this unscripted, we're taking this into horror, we're taking the sci-fi. Those might be genres you guys like. It's just you got to think about how to write that script differently. You got to think about how to execute it in vertical. Go ahead.
There's a guy called Adam Faze
Mhm.
who's founded a company who, like, their model is we make content for the screen that you actually watch, and then they make like documentaries. And recently they have a show, 2 shows on Amazon, and they're structured like vertical series, but maybe 13, 20 episodes of smaller amount volume. But then there's still 1-minute episodes, and then one of them is called Boy Apartment or yeah, something like that. And or Boy Room, actually. Boy Room.
This guy, Adam Faze.
Yeah. He used to be a development exec as well.
And what's your observation? What interests you in him?
It's that. Oh, and like first of all, the monetization model is that they set their show up at Amazon and integrate it on YouTube and Amazon, something like
Yeah, that's called ownership.
Yeah.
So again, think about where, I don't know exactly this person's journey, but when usually the burden of these things is investment, right? Like I got this big dream and it takes place on Mars and there's amazing actors in it. So you as a creative have the ability to show, I know how to do that. And then you're a big bet on somebody. You still got to hire all those people. And then that becomes the studio's opportunity to start taking major ownership in your ideas. And then Netflix might say, I love that idea so much and you've got such a great track record as a creative. How about we just pay you a bunch of money and you don't own anything? And people will take that deal. And that's part of what led to the streaming kind of like bad economics. But if you're now able to make stuff at a different cost, like I was just at a dinner last night. Do you know Ryan Kavanaugh? Like, I guess he's like a big sort of studio exec guy. He's starting his own AI studio. And again, this is at least I think it's not even that interesting thesis, but the point is they're saying, okay, I used to have to raise $300 million a year to make a movie like this. I'm going to raise $300 million a year and I'm going to make 10 movies because now the risk is going down. And if you keep going down that headspace, maybe I can just raise that money and that becomes like friends and family money, or maybe actually I'm making movies for 3 million and now I actually own it. And I actually know that I can distribute this on YouTube because Markiplier and this YouTube influencer person's in the movie. And we know we're going to get eyeballs. It's going to instantly be a hit. And we haven't even given it away yet as a movie. We're just distributing it as short form. Ownership, IP, audience. Those are the actual things that are in play to build businesses right now.
I wanted to mention that his show was set up on Amazon because the thesis of the film is like a person goes into like messy men's apartments and then try to like renovate or upgrade them using only Amazon products.
I mean, and that's again, that's product placement and it's a smart business move.
Yeah.
And again, you guys get to decide, is that the type of creator you want to be that thinks that way? And if you are, you might make money and you might be building interesting ancillary businesses inside of your creative, which is ultimately what, you know, is what's going on when Disney invests in Little Mermaid. Is they're like, all right, we're going to build a theme park down the road. And that's our ancillary money. So look, it's probably a lot to carry when all you want to do is tell your story. I just want you guys to know that I think you have an opportunity to think this way. And I think I mentioned to you guys that when I was in film school, it was like the alumni that came in on the last day and they're like, guys, it's all about marketing. And like, we all thought they were lame and like, screw you, you know, we like movies. And I think they were right, you know, and I'm not saying you need to stop being creative. I just think there's never been a better time to think like a creative entrepreneur. And in terms of where you get to do what you want to do. Anyway, I don't know, I can't tell if I'm bumming Samuel out. You got to look on your face.
It's like producing to like, all right, so like every filmmaker's kind of got to be a social media brand.
I think everybody needs to understand that they have more power if they control their audience. More power. And again, if you are just hoping that Warner Brothers is famous and they get me on the screen, then that used to be a good setup because they frothed so much money and they took so many bets and they made so many movies that sometimes didn't make money because then Batman would subsidize all the failures. Those are the good old days. That because of that stranglehold on distribution and creation, they could afford to be that speculative. But now it's so risk averse right now. Everybody is so defensive because if you're the exec that fought and fell on your sword for a movie didn't work, you might lose your job. And that job might not even exist again the next year because of how much consolidation is happening and how much redundancies there are. So that risk aversion, you know, has sort of really made it hard to be a creative person. And what I'm saying is instead of hoping these jerks who have not been making nice deals for the last 10 years, like all of this is just really rich people making really rough deals that care nothing about the ecosystem. They care about, like David Zaslav, do you guys know who this guy is? Like he used to be the studio exec of like Discovery, that eventually Discovery Networks that eventually acquired what was called Scripps back then, which was like Travel Channel and like Food Network and these. So he just created like a cable TV empire that was very successful. He's the guy that got hired to run Warner Brothers. And that's why some people call it Disco Bros, because it's Discovery and Warner Brothers that we're actually talking about. So the Warner Brothers that's in the news, it's actually Discovery Warner Brothers. And the guy that's running that is a cable TV guy that like was really successful at understanding HDTV. Okay, that guy is one of the most hated people I know in terms of like people that have worked for him. And like during these times when even before things got all clever with Netflix and Paramount, he was literally just downsizing, dropping the stock price. Like his company's value dropped so much, and he literally had stipulations that as long as like cash flow hit some benchmark or something, while people were losing their jobs, while the company's stock price was dropping, he literally got a $50 million bonus. Bonus, not even his salary, like just extra money. Extra money. These are the people who are dictating our lives right now. I'm just saying, like, know that these people are not looking out for us. Sorry, I get passionate about this stuff because I know a lot of people losing their jobs. And I just want you to know that you don't have to get stuck in this. Sorry, I don't mean to get all wound up about it. Go ahead.
How did, let's say, USC continue to survive in that?
I mean, those are good questions. I think it's because we're creating spaces for you guys to become nimble creatives. That's what I'm trying to talk to you
This
about.
is like the only class of this sort. So isn't like every class gonna have to?
I mean, I'm not trying to like ruffle feathers here, guys. I'm just like, I just came in as an adjunct and I do other stuff. I'm just saying this is the real stuff I sit around and obsess about. And I'm watching people having to adapt their careers around. I'm watching people that like had 20-year stable like reality TV unscripted. They're jumping into vertical dramas. They've completely shifted their business to saying, I'm doing this over here. I don't even know if it's going to work for them, but that's what folks are doing. We're trying to be nimble. We're trying to get ownership positions. We're trying to get IP positions. We're trying to get audience position. And look, I don't love Logan Paul. I don't think that's like a great cultural turning point for us, you know, but I get it that he is doing it. Like they're selling energy drinks. Like think about his model. Like these guys make money because they're selling Powerade or Prime or whatever it's called. And his YouTube business is a means to that. Okay, is that inspiring for film students? Of course not, but it is where money is flowing. And again, what is your version of that? Like, is there some smart take on that? Is there another way to think about IP and commercial package, consumer packaged goods? I really think everybody benefits from trying to learn the YouTube blueprint as something that is growing, something that is monetizing, while everything else is sort of stuck in an old model. But again, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers with USC, man. I probably about to say thank you for a great semester. Like fuck off. But I care about this, and I care about you guys. And when I was invited to be here, I'm like, wow, this is like best film students in America. It's exciting for me to hear you guys tell me I'm wrong about this stuff, or tell me that there's another way to look at it. But I do think you guys are generationally at a different upswing, and I want you guys to drive this. I want you guys to ask tough questions. And I don't know, challenge your university. It's up to you. But I'm just saying, like, how do you make this work for you? And that is the underlying thing that I get excited about AI is I think all questions aside, ethics, worries about name it, all those things are real. But from an entrepreneurial point of view, it's creating a lot of leverage if you're actually talented. All right, I just blew through an hour talking about that. Let's do some homework. And I wanted this. I actually thought we were going to talk about this at the last third, but I got wound up. Sorry, I get really passionate about this.
Attendance and homework.
And you got it? You got attendance?
Oh, we gotta.
Well,
call it out
don't you
real
just see everybody, or do you need to call it out?
We'll call it out.
Okay, all right.
Stephen Chen. No, Stephen. Okay. Charlie's on Zoom. Okay, Lewis, I got, yep. And then Jack. Nope. Roxy, I think she's in the bathroom, right? And then Leon. Yep. Gotcha. Idea, yep. Colton, there you are. Iman, over there, great. Stephen, yep. Anish, yep. Jose, yep. Yife, there you are. And then Lucas, right there. Yep. Samuel, yep. Chanmi, there you are.
Have I just like bummed everybody out going into the
Aiden?
weekend?
Do we have an Aiden in here?
Aiden, sorry.
No. And then Yenhan?
What did you say?
Yenhan?
Yanhat?
Oh, wait.
Also known as
Lewis. Okay.
Lewis. I'm just confirming. I don't see you want to go by Yanhat. What do you think, Yanhat? I also know that there's a lot of people that either have heritage or are from China. I do think that is the other part of this story, in that there's a much more globalized marketplace. For people that have a perspective from China, do you guys disagree anything?
One more person.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is Jinrun? There you are. Gotcha. Thank you.
Do you go by Jinrun, or do you have another nickname? Jin. Got it.
Gotcha.
I wasn't sure.
Great. Let me put that on the attendance.
But I mean, while we have more time, for folks that maybe have a perspective from China, what do you guys think of what I'm saying? I think your family. Am I wrong about that? Did I just make a bad assumption? Sorry.
I can just go by
Lewis, right? But thinking about the Chinese perspective on what is a global entertainment industry. Does anybody see that differently?
The industry in China has already died before AI.
Has already what?
It's already dead before.
It's already dead?
Yeah,
You think so?
it's been like that for a long time, even without AI.
I mean, Neja is like the highest grossing animated movie of all time. Is it Neja? Nezha? That's like and Zootopia made like a third of its money in China. And that's like one of the highest grossing Disney movies. And Disney is building theme parks in China. I'm very interested in what you're saying, because I was under the impression that there was an ascendant economics.
It's not really like an industry. People have critical thing. That's the thing.
It is IP though.
Workshops here and everyone's guys know their own battles.
I mean, it's hard not to notice that when we go back to the AI models, a lot of that is subsidized by the government in terms of the research that's going into them and the support they're getting. Especially the microdrama business, it's mostly subsidized by massive marketing money that's coming from the government. So it's interesting to me that maybe there's even a split between where the government's perceiving itself and where it's affecting like the average creative. Is that a distinction? Or so I'm trying to pull up this article that I found interesting, is it really spoke to this. Am I totally off on that? That there's actually like sort of a challenge to the U.S. kind of positioning? Leon?
I'm not really
Just that while the U.S. industry of media and film has basically been one form of soft diplomacy, call it propaganda even, in the way that we have distributed our culture all over the world with Top Gun and movies about American presidents and even just like good old-fashioned entertainment. That's been a major part of our global influence in terms of why movies matters to America and why places like this have so much support as a cultural institution. because they're important to a thing called America. And in some ways, most of the world has just been a market to sell those things and make money off them. Okay, and to me, like, am I pronouncing it right? Neja?
No,
How do you say it?
no,
Neja, sorry. Which is, the reason I know this is because I have my graduate school project is like, I reference Inside Out 2 as like a market signal, that I was very excited that it was like the highest grossing animated movie of all time, because it's about like child psychology in my project. And then it got supplanted by Neja. I was like, oh, it's the second highest grossing movie because it was Neja. So I know it specifically because of that reason, because I'm trying to leverage what I thought was a good data point. Hang on, where is it? Real AI, this guy. I think this guy, do you guys follow the Inkler? Inkler is a really good kind of like independent, kind of just entertainment news publication. Puck as well, if you guys have heard of Puck. I'm saying outside of Hollywood Reporter and like about Variety and like New York Times, these are very well curated groups of journalists. They have it's like it's $25 a month or something, so it's your money. But they, you can sort of get the beginning of the article. They wrote a really good piece about what we're talking about in our class, and I'll just share it with you guys. And if anybody wants to subscribe, and if anybody is like, oh, I don't want to spend $25, I'll just like screenshot it and send it to you. But it gets into this stuff, and it sort of points out why. I mean, these are the highlights. Why Hollywood's rapid and united pushback with C-Dance. Again, we're talking back to our class here, not all my random stuff today. But why it matters, because Hollywood did it in a unified way. This was one of the first times that this thing happened, and for the first time, all the studios, agencies, guilds, they said, fuck no, we're not doing this. Then the uncomfortable truth about the industry's dependence on China, which is another way of saying like this thing, this thing, parts made in because of industries that run out of other countries, not made in America, right? The Apple analogy, that they benefit from the scale that comes from that relationship with another marketplace. So, and then ByteDance's retreat, this is to me the interesting part that I want to spend more time, that the fact that ByteDance is doing the same thing that Sora 2 did, that like, all right, sorry, bros, we used a little bit of Disney IP, all good. The fact that they're pulling back on that, he's suggesting that actually signals escalation, which I want to understand better. But I thought that was an interesting point. And that he made this other point. He sort of alludes that ultimately this might be the beginning of that tilt, that this might start showing that our sort of hegemony or our kind of ownership of the way this works internationally is at play. When now a company like C-Dance can create something that just goes to the heart of why something is interesting to watch, at least conceptually. I don't know. I can't tell if people talk about that video outside of like AI circles. Like maybe like people in Middle America are like, who cares? Like, where's Sydney Sweeney? I don't know. Like I'm just saying maybe this stuff doesn't matter, but we're in a place to analyze it. All right, we're close to the hour. I know we're not going to get through homework. We'll do homework right afterwards. Really great work. I'm excited to see everybody's stuff. Charlie, I know you're on Zoom. Am I overlooking you often raise good points. Can I hear you? Are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's funny. I can hear you on my screen. How come it's not sharing on the big screen? I thought I selected the presentation audio.
Not sure.
Oh, you know what? It's because I switched my speakers. Charlie, while we have a few minutes, do you have any thoughts on all the propaganda? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's I'm kind of getting a looping.
Is that better?
That's now. Yeah, it's better now. Even honestly, just yesterday, I was doing a lot of like research into this whole like creative entrepreneurship angle, because someone like me, like I'm coming into grad school a little bit later, having been kind of working and then coming to the industry and like hoping, or not hoping, wanting to get a job at a bigger production company or a studio and learn from people. And then kind of at the same time, I'm kind of wondering, okay, is because of all this new technology, should I just be investing in my own brand, creating my own audience, and using, all these new AI tools to, like start a YouTube channel, like start a brand that I can, after December when I graduate, I can start to like build on and continue to build on. So it's kind of, I'm wondering, where to focus my energy. Maybe it's both at the same time, kind of building this brand while also looking at the industry and seeing where I can get involved. But so this conversation is really, it is great.
It's interesting to me. I'll say, I hope I don't sound like too much of a dad. I say this to my kids because I learned it in therapy once. Should's an annoying word. That I should do something. Like should is like I shouldn't kill somebody and I shouldn't hurt myself. Like those are the only things you really should or shouldn't do. Everything else is a choice. Everything else. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm just saying that helps me but when I hear Charlie, like, oh, should I do this? It's so much weight for you guys to carry. You shouldn't do anything. I don't know, like you're just alive and go be interesting. I don't know. But I'm saying it's a choice. And at some point, take the should off of it and just say to yourself, all right, well, what are my choices? Why has this got pros and cons, ups and downs? And I would say, Charlie, I want you to feel better about this. I don't want you to should anything. It's just movies, guys. Who cares? But I'm just saying, like, but maybe you start doing your own cost benefit analysis. Maybe you use AI to help you figure this out. Maybe you have a whole conversation with Claude to say, I'm trying to figure this out. These are my goals. Frankly, this is where AI, outside of generating, Brad Pitt and stuff, is really useful. It becomes a great sounding board for decision making and learning. And my short answer to you is, like, if that interests you and if you see upside, it has never been easier to spin up a YouTube channel and start trying. And I'd say minimally the experience you go through to experiment with that and learn the skills of, like, how do I build my own, and see what works, what doesn't. I mean, literally, I think like Mr. Beast published some 37-page document of here's how to do it, and everybody was all geeking out on this is my pathway to success. I'm just saying, if that interests you, I think it's a pretty good. I would, if I had time, I should learn this stuff. I don't do it enough, but I'm saying you should iterate, and that is sort of, to me, the biggest message from this uncertainty is if you think we can't figure it out, these guys don't have it either. Everybody is uncertain. So it's a great time to be iterating. It's a great time to be experimenting and being nimble. And I think those instincts are really good of what might be the lesson to learn right now. Is it how to define your voice as a filmmaker and know how to capture the human condition? I don't know, maybe. And that's probably what most of your professors here are to teach you. But I also think, what if I understood how to own my audience, how to actually understand that I no longer have to hope that Discovery Channel likes me and I get to put a show on their air. I can actually just start making stuff, and I can learn directly from people I want to call my consumers. That's a new modern skill. So don't carry so much weight, guys. I know this stuff's really stressful, and we're gonna get on with Google right now. I hope that was a good answer, Charlie. But I'm proud of you to be asking yourself those questions, and again, minimally add that to your quiver of what am I up to,
No, that's
right.
great.
So I'm going to hop off this Zoom. If you can go to the one, if anybody else, is Brooks Taylor out there? Oh, he's right in front of me. Let's just make sure we hop off to the other Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I think wait, how am I going to have two Zooms going at the same time?
If it's on different
So I have to exit the other one for starters.
Yeah.